Real quick, Lars, am I pronouncing your artist name right? Aural Antithesis, or is it Aural? Aural?
Yeah, that's usually how I say it.
Okay,
It's
no, great. I just wanted to make sure I was pronouncing it right. All right.
honest.
Well, so go ahead. What are you gonna say?
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, I thought of that name. I started using it like 2008 or something like that, and I thought way too hard about it. And I thought it would be a cool name that would like encompass everything, so I wouldn't have to worry about different monikers for different
Yeah,
styles. But I didn't
totally.
think about the fact that people don't know really how to say these words and don't really know what it would mean, and so it's kind of just
Oh
like,
man, that's super funny actually. And I'm gonna forgo the normal introduction because this is like a good segue actually. Because you were saying that your name, your artist moniker, kind of encompasses all like styles and various types of music, and that's super funny because I found that to be very true about a lot of your music, particularly this set that we're talking about here in this patch. Um, for example, like when it started, like right off the bat, I could tell we were in for something that was going to be a little more like grimy and aggressive, just based off like the timbres of the voices. But at the same time, there was this sense of like space and this weird like ambient music vibe. And I felt like your whole set, up until when the drums came in, the whole set kind of um, towed that line between like atonal noise music and ambient music. Would you kind of agree with that analysis, or am I completely off base?
yeah, no, I mean, for better or worse, I feel like whenever I do recordings, it kind of ends up being what like most people call like dark ambient or something,
Mm,
where it's just like it yeah, it's like I like the noise music stuff, but then I also kind of feel like it's so hard for the everyday listener to like listen to that stuff most of the
yeah,
time, that I kind of try to pull in elements of other stuff, but am so
totally.
more inspired by like personally by like the avant-garde and kind of like
Mm.
the weird stuff. So this one I kind of just try and bring in all elements, and I'm also obsessed with techno, so
Yeah. Oh man, that's it's so funny because yeah, when you hear that or hearing you say that, like I totally, yeah, your set makes a lot more sense now. It just as far as like the inspirations behind it, especially in the tail end when you kind of get into more of that like four in the floor groove.
yeah.
It's and so yeah, I love that idea of like making noise music more, for lack of a better term, like accessible. Because I think you're right. Like noise music, like I love noise music and I like appreciate noise music, but it's like I'm not gonna throw it on in my car on a drive or like listen to it while I'm working.
Yeah.
So I love the idea of making it more accessible.
Well,
Um, Sorry, go ahead.
oh, it is funny though when you do throw it on in the car. There have been several times where I'll get back in my car and be like, what is that sound? Why, like, get super scared about the
What's wrong with my engine?
what's going on, because there's some high pitched noise or grinding sound, and it's like, oh yeah, turn down the stereo. It's like, oh phew,
Oh my
okay.
gosh, that's so funny. Wow. Well, okay. Maybe before we dive in any further, maybe I should just real quick introduce who you are. For those of you who don't know, this is Lars Knapp. He is a great friend of ours. He is the host of The Tunnel on K. Is it? I always forget. It's KESR or KSER?
KSER, yeah.
Okay, KSER. I always tell people KESR, and I'm like, that doesn't sound right. KSER. Um, uh, and that's on Fridays, yeah?
Yeah, it's on Fridays. I mean, most of the time, honestly, they told us not to come in for the whole pandemic thing, so I haven't done it in
Oh,
months at this
yeah,
point.
that
So I
makes
haven't.
sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's so I hopefully we get to restart it soon, but
Yeah, well, I'm sure this is nice. Might be like the closest thing you've had to like an interview, which is it's funny because normally it's it's you interviewing us. So now it's kind of funny. It's a little flipped.
Well, yeah,
Um,
right before that was like my favorite part of doing the whole radio show is like, playing the music's fun, but having the artists come up and play live
totally.
is awesome. And you guys have been awesome. We're just hooking me up with people who are like want to come play on the radio. And I mean, the last
Yeah.
one was John L. Rice. Kind of, I think that was early March or
Yeah. It
kind
must
of
have been
right
pre
before
COVID. Yeah.
the lockdown. But
Oh man, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. Well, yeah, and I mean, we appreciate you and what you do, and we love the tunnel. We're big fans,
heck yeah.
and yeah. Anyways, Lars, I guess by the time this video comes out, he will have played the November 7th Modular Nights, and so we're gonna break down his patch here. We've kind of already started talking about it, but yeah, let's just keep diving in. We talked about your inspirations, and we talked about, kind of how you like to approach, the style of music. I'm very much interested how you approach like the performance aspect of it. Because I just listening to it, your transitions, from part to part, from this like droning voice in the beginning to the drums to the more noisy part at the end, like those transitions seemed so well thought out, and so like perfectly executed. So when you're like making like a more long form, like 20 to 30-minute set, how do you like when you first sit down at your instruments and you start putting that together and constructing that, like how do you, what's your thought process there, like how do you put it together?
Yeah, well, kind of, I started out doing noise stuff, like I said earlier, in kind of like 2008, and I would start off, like circuit bent equipment and contact mic stuff, and so I've never really had any music training, which is probably obvious, but so it like
I didn't think that was obvious at all, actually.
For me, I kind of like think about these abstract forms of kind of like composition, and so it's like it is more about like the textures and the timbres and like how you kind of want it to flow over time. And it's essentially, it always ends up like kind of ramping itself up to the end. That's kind of how
Yeah.
I always feel like it kind of just ramps up to the end. And so this one in particular, I have been trying to like inquire more of a kind of musical sound, and I have been trying to cultivate more kind of specifically kind of techno or like electronic sounds. And I want to do a recording that's kind of more focused on that kind of stuff. But so I've kind of been playing with this as like a specific techno box here that's pretty much only set up for that, and I don't really repatch it too often. And then that's kind of like my noise box. And so
Okay. So you're using both of those in this set, and one of them's running the more techno stuff, one of them's running the noise stuff. Oh, that's pretty cool.
I just kind of figured out, the different voices I was going to use, and then how I kind of wanted to go in from one to another, and then kind of, fade into the techno, and then kind of back out to the drone at the end, and then make that more aggressive.
Yeah, no, okay,
to the ending point.
Right. So you kind of went in with like this plan of like the different parts you were going to transition to, and you knew like the whole time it was like just going to ramp up in intensity. Yeah, no, right on. And I definitely felt that vibe when I was listening to it. It's like it started with just those drones, and then it built up and built up and built up to the end where it's crazy. But let's start at the beginning, because obviously I want to dive into the gear and dive into the sounds and the timbres. For like the first like four, no, not even the first like 10 minutes of the set. It was very much like a building drone, and you had some melody come in here and there. But yeah, talk about those sounds and those drones, because I thought they sounded really timbrally and harmonically like super interesting. So kind of walk us through those sounds and how you put that all together.
So that is one thing where, from coming from more noise background, I have kind of been converted, so I am actually trying to tune my oscillators a little bit, and
Oh, there you
so
go.
I'll pay a little more attention to that stuff and try and get at least some kind of semblance of playing within a chord or something like that. And
Yeah.
so on this one, I have the DPO,
Okay.
make noise DPO, which is
Great classic oscillator.
dual oscillator, and that's kind of the main part of that drone.
Okay.
And it is fed through the Optimix, so that's a couple of low pass gates in there, but it's all controlled through kind of slow LFOs and a little bit of random. And then it's going into their XPAN, make noise XPAN module, so that kind of helps create the stereo width and some of the space in there.
Okay, so that's actually another thing I because I was listening to the set and I took a bunch of notes, and one of the things I made note of was, my God, the panning on this is incredible. So that was the X-Pan then. That's how you did that. Okay, and so does the X-Pan, because I know we're kind of jumping around a little bit, but there was another point when the drums had come in, where you kind of had all this stereo effect stuff, and then all of a sudden you took it all away, and it just like everything just went like out here to the sides and just right in the middle, and that shit blew me away. That sounded amazing. So was that all the X-Pan?
No, because that the X-Pan is in the noise box, and
so
that's only one voice. So the drum stuff is all running through a couple of different effects in the techno system, the Herb Verb and the tapographic delay from 4MS.
Okay.
Which it does have kind of stereo action on both of those. So they kind of have mono signals going in with the drums, but then either for the reverb or the delay, they both have stereo outputs. And so I make use of that to kind of help create some different atmosphere and space in there.
Gotcha. Oh, so all that crazy stuff then, when you had the stereo stuff going and then you took it away, that was all through the tapographic delay?
Yeah, it probably was. It probably
can
was.
Can we hear that? Can we hear some drums through the delay? And
that module is really interesting. Yeah.
No, I've never used it myself, but I've certainly read up on it a little bit. I considered getting it. It seems super cool.
I looked at I wanted the dual looping delay for the longest time, and especially for the kind of techno stuff, it seemed like that's what I wanted. But then actually this one came up used at Patchworks, and I looked into it a little bit more, and it was like it's very playable. It's like got a lot, because you can tap the different rhythms in it. It really has a lot of playability to it. So yeah, let me get some drums going here, see if we can.
And now, also, is all your sequencing happening from the BeatStep Pro, or do you have any like sequencers inside of your rig that you're using?
I do. Yeah, this one was all on the BeatStep Pro.
Okay, right on. Ah, that's so sick.
Yeah, actually, so on this one, I had it set up so the tapographic delay was only for the kind of acid lines.
Okay.
And then the drums were actually going through the Herb Verb, so they both
got it.
They do kind of create some of that stuff where that has the stereo effect going on with the reverb.
Got it. Okay, that's what it was. That's what I was hearing in the set, and hopefully people watching this know exactly what I'm talking about, because that moment I thought was, I don't know, it was such a simple thing, but it was incredible and it sounded really cool.
Well, thank you. I don't know. Have you watched any of the Colin Bender stuff that he's been doing lately?
Not lately, actually. I used to be super into him, but I haven't watched it lately.
From the lockdown period, he's been just doing a ton of live streams, and obviously he has a much larger setup than most people. But it's like that's kind of trying to get some inspiration from some other people.
Totally. Yeah, I know. Right on, man. Oh man. So is it just like the hi-hat and snare, or do you have like the kick drum going through the herb verb as well?
The kick drum is its own channel because
Hmm.
for me, I like always like to be able to put the kick drum louder, and like the kick drum is just focused. So like
Yeah.
I just have that on its own channel, and it kind of just does its thing.
Yeah.
I do the one thing I do. So I got the bass. Most of the drum modules are the tip top.
Okay, I was gonna ask.
That one's the bass drum 909, and
Okay.
I made this Synthro Tech kit that's like a distortion unit. It's like a 308 or something,
Uh huh.
and I didn't really like it and didn't have much use for it. But before I tried to get rid of it, I decided to plug it in through the bass drum, and it really just
Oh shit.
now they're little besties.
Yeah.
And they're just constantly plugged in together because it just always it just has a lot more overdrive, and like
Doesn't the tip top 909, because I have that module as well. It's not currently in my rig, but doesn't that module also have its own like overdrive built in?
yeah.
So are you using both?
Why not?
I don't know. That's incredible. That's incredible. Well, because that kick does sound very like huge and fast. So I was just wondering. That's awesome, man. Oh, I mean that beat just on its own, like without even anything else, is so sick. And then especially when you start like adding in like the drone from the DPO. Like yeah, why don't you turn that up too, so we can hear those things kind of together.
Yeah, let me. Is that loud enough? Is that too loud?
No, that's perfect. That's perfect. Ooh. Like that sounds so sick. Oh man, you got a lot of interesting stuff happening within the DPO.
Yeah, well, in that drone voice too, I almost left it at this, but I've recently, a couple months back, got the Piston Honda Mark III.
Okay.
From Industrial Music Electronics.
Yeah.
And man, that one adds a lot of grit, and it's also a dual oscillator, but it's digital and it's a wavetable.
Oh, yeah. You can get crazy, glitchy, distorted stuff with wavetable oscillators.
Yeah. And so, like, especially with the two together, I mean, I like a lot of drone and ambient music, but
yeah,
my favorite album in that genre is Coil Time Machines. It's a lot different than any other Coil stuff, but it's I just get so into those drones, and so it's I feel like it adds a lot of texture to it, and,
No, totally. I mean, the drones like by themselves are like super interesting and rich in timbre. Like I said, like the first 10 minutes of your set was mostly just drone. Like we didn't get drums till like 10 minutes. But there was, I mean, between the DPO and the Piston Honda, you just had so much, going on that like was able to hold my attention for 10 minutes, which for drone music is quite a long time, right?
Well, thanks. Yeah, that's nice to hear. And it also, like, I oftentimes will make the mistake of like kind of over modulating things, where then it just kind of gets crazy. And so this one, it doesn't have, like a ton of modulation.
Oh, really?
A little bit of random and LFOs.
Okay.
Kind of slowly changing things. But yeah, I wouldn't say there's like a ton of modulation.
Okay, so just like a few slow moving LFOs to keep things interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's sometimes with modular, I think, especially when we're trying to make something like a drone interesting, then I think the tendency is to like overmodulate and like add a bunch of things because we think, oh, adding a bunch of things will make it more interesting, and I can stretch it out over a longer period of time, and I can fill out my set. But no, I love your approach of not using too much and just kind of letting that ride. Because I mean, like I said, it already sounds cool, so you don't need to add too much to it, right? Yeah, right on. Okay, so another thing that I am ultra curious about and dying to know, because if I'm not mistaken, the main source of melody in this patch were those spring boxes you have on top of your rig. Is that right?
Well, I mean, there's also kind of the acid lines in the techno stuff, but yeah, definitely the noise stuff. I love contact mics and love all that stuff. So
okay, so walk me through that. I would love to hear just the spring box by itself, and also just to know what that is and how it works and how you're processing that.
Yeah. Okay, mute that real quick. So this is basically a few years back, I made a few kits of the it's the Music Thing modular contact mic.
Okay.
They call it the microphony.
Yeah, which later became the Mutable Instruments ears, I believe. Yeah,
okay. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
But so then this, I made this a while back, kind of inspired, by Fathom the Void and Aura Cleary. And I've been thinking about this stuff for a while, having my own thing.
Wait, seriously, so you built that?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's so cool. Oh my God.
I stole this thing from work, and it's just kind of a ground bar that has that I can put the thumb piano stuff in.
Yeah.
And then it's got a couple of. Let's see.
Oh, and that's running through the topographic delay. Oh, that's so fucking cool.
Yeah. This is running through both effects. And so then, honestly, these are just wires that I've kind of just messed around with, and some springs.
Wow.
And so it's kind of, I've got a contact mic in here that plugs into everything, and I just kind of, hack it together in my garage.
Dude, that's so cool.
So yeah, I mean, I had this thumb piano for the longest time, and originally when I was a kid, we like put it on a coconut, and then it kind of fell apart, and so I've had these springs. And
God, that's so sick.
I don't know if I did it in the show or not, but I was using the EBO.
Okay.
I think I did to try to like kind of stimulate some of the
right
and the strings and
right.
So this kind of, I think I start off with the EBO and kind of like it's made for guitars to like, kind of just, but it will work on, it seems like, most steel.
Yeah.
Kind of vibrate them.
That makes sense. And it gives you a totally different like sound, versus like playing it with your finger, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God, damn, dude! Well, that's so cool. So how are you processing that? So it's going through the topographic delay, obviously, but anything after that, or is that kind of it?
It's so another part of this has been more recently. I built the AI synthesis matrix mixer.
Oh, great module!
And so that one really adds a lot of versatility. I feel like, where I have the drum voices, the kind of melodies in here, and then it's actually got room for 2 more inputs. But so this one actually just runs through it goes to the herb verb, and it goes to the topographic delay.
Oh, okay. God, well, it sounds so cool. Like, the fact that it has like those thumb piano keys. Oh God, it sounds so sick.
Well, and I recorded it on Halloween.
Okay. So you were feeling the spooky vibes. Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, that's perfect. I mean, that's a perfect instrument for that. And it's crazy because because it has the thumb piano like tines, and it has the springs and the strings. Like, you get so much versatility of sound just out of that one thing. I actually didn't realize it was one thing. I thought there were multiple things up there when I was watching your set. Um, but yeah, I mean, it sounds so like plinky and like plucky, but then also like washed out at the same time. And
Yeah.
oh man, that's so cool. And it's interesting because you got it to work like over that drone because you were saying like with the drone stuff, you're trying to like be more intentional about your note tuning. But I'm assuming you can't really be intentional about tuning with that thing, right?
Yeah,
But it worked.
I can. Well, that is one thing with the ground bar, which this actually I learned from Nathan Moody.
Mm.
Shout out,
Shout out Nathan Moody, man.
He has this ground bar where each individual tine from the thumb piano is under a specific screw, so you can kind of adjust it one at a time.
That sounds like a pain in the ass, though, right?
Well, it's a lot better than having all like 7 of them free.
Totally.
And so like you like just trying to tune one and then you accidentally bump another one, where this you can like just tune one at a time. And so I did spend a little time trying to do it by ear a little bit.
Sure.
But yeah, like the springs you get.
Yeah, like you can't tune that.
Yeah, no, I mean these wires, I mean they're just wires. It's not even
right
a guitar string. It's just do some wires on there. So
wow. Well, I mean, even though you can't like tune it necessarily, I thought it still worked really well over the rest of the patch. Like I thought it sounded fantastic.
Thank you.
It really blew me away. Because I think like when I was watching it, I was like eating dinner as well, and like watching the election in another window too, and so like I was like listening, and I was like, oh man, that sounds really cool. And then I like turned the video back on my screen, and I'm like, what the hell is that? So that's super cool. That's fantastic. Okay, well then, so you walk us through because so you talked about the drone, you talked about the drums, we talked about that spring box, but you mentioned earlier, you touched on like a little like acid techno voice. So walk us through that. How what's making that sound?
So up here in the techno box, I only have 2 voices. One's the Hertz Donut from Industrial Music Electronics. Back when it was called the Harvest Man. This is the Mark 1.
Yeah.
So this is like the original one, and it's got a lot of crazy options, but I do find it really good for that kind of 303, similar to the 303 kind of.
All right. Oh, Justin just upgraded the meeting. So now I was like, oh God, we're out of time. No, that's fantastic. That's fantastic.
Got upgraded.
Thanks, Justin. Anyways, continue.
Yeah, and the other voice in here that I play a little bit on is this the telharmonic, the make noise telharmonic. I kind of try and use that for like those classic kind of stab kind of sounds. It's not so much that in this set, but it's just more of like a higher pitch thing. So I mean, really, most of it is the Hertz Donut.
Yeah, let's hear that.
Sorry about that.
Oh, you're good. Ooh. Oh yeah. What filter is that? Is that the Pittsburgh filter?
It's Pittsburgh, yeah. It's
okay.
Pittsburgh.
Their filters are like their older filters are just like so grimy in like the best way possible.
Yeah. And so I've got the function here, make noise function, and that is kind of creating the envelope for the for that.
Which that is also a great module. Ooh.
Yeah, this the Hertz Donut series, it's another dual oscillator, but you have a lot of internal routing of the different character in it.
Well, yeah, so I was gonna ask, cause obviously the Pittsburgh filter adds a little bit to that like distorted character. But is most of that happening inside the oscillator itself, as you were just describing?
A lot of it is. Yeah.
Oh my god, that's so cool.
A lot of it is because it's like this. It's a it's really pretty simple voice. Just oscillator, filter. Well, I guess it goes oscillator to the envelope to the filter. No, I think oscillator, filter, then to the envelope, and then output. So
right, it's yeah. So as far as like the routing, it's nothing too crazy, but just that oscillator is crazy, and the filter, of course. So, ooh. Yeah, no. If anything, that voice perfectly describes your whole techno noise hybrid kind of thing, right? That totally encapsulates that perfectly.
thank you. Yeah, positive feedback here, man.
Yeah.
Inspiration to get that record a whole kind of album of it.
Ooh. Is all that pitch shifting craziness happening through the topographic delay?
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's so cool. Oh my god. Wait, I would love to hear that voice with the drums. I'd love to hear those two things together because I bet that sounds amazing. Mm. Oh man, I love the way your rig is set up and the way you're routing everything. It's like the drums, the beat staying the same, the melody staying the same, and throughout there's a big portion of your set where the drums do remain the same, but it's the way that you mess with the timbres and perform, the way you perform, you perform the sounds rather than the structure of the piece itself, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, and that's kind of goes back to no composition background or anything like that. So I do have a hard time kind of making, even when I used to make music on Fruity Loops and whatnot, I have a hard time getting different, especially melodic kind of structures to feel like they actually flow and build into something better than just the one loop. So.
No, totally. But I think with the gear you have and the way you're doing this, yeah, it's like you don't necessarily need to worry about that because you're just messing with the timbre of everything, and it sounds awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, awesome, man. I mean, are there any voices that we haven't covered yet? Or
not really. That's this one, it kind of only has the 4 voices. The only other thing I really did in this one is in the back on the drone box, I have kind of a noise source going through another filter.
What noise? Just white noise, or a oscillator, or what?
Yeah, it's just one of the noise, the kind of the ring modded noise output from the Woggle Bug.
Oh, okay, nice.
And it goes through this Dopefer A106-1 extreme filter. And
whoa,
so
extreme filter.
Yeah. That was the first filter I got, and it's got some really cool stuff and some sound shaping capabilities to it, but it definitely doesn't have kind of that that acidy kind of drippy. It's really hard to get that. You can. It's got some sweet spots, but like the Pittsburgh filter is a lot better for kind of that, that drippy acid sound.
Totally. Because like all those Pittsburgh filters, when you crank the resonance, wow, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's really cool. So this one, it's got a noise source going into it, and then that goes into the Echophon, the make noise Echophone. And so that kind of it's kind of just it's gated at some point too. So it's kind of just got a sequence. So it's randomly kind of goes out in bursts.
Oh, cool! Can we hear that? Can we hear that?
Filtered noise, yeah.
Oh shit, that's cool.
Really just kind of, it does add some like background noise and just kind of extra grit to that drone. And so like it kind of, it's also modulated on the stereo fields, and so it and so that's also what kind of helps just kind of create the kind of crescendo, the build up at the end, just kind of this constant, especially with the when you turn up that woggle bug super high, just starts going, the noises start going crazy, and it starts, doing all kinds of gates out. So it kind of just creates more and more. Right.
Oh man, that's so sick, man. Well, I think that about covers it. I mean, I mean, thank you, Lars, again so much for first of all playing the show, and then for allowing us to kind of pick your brain a little bit and dive into your patch. Man, go ahead.
I'm super happy to play. I have been missing the live shows quite a bit.
God. Oh, I know.
But actually, I do get a little more actual chatty when I'm on the computer, so it's it's kind of good. So maybe once we are able to get back out and get out there, I'll be more willing to talk to a few people. But if you do see me, come say hi.
yeah, awesome, man. Well, Lars, thank you again. Now that we've kind of heard a lot of the pieces individually, let's put it all together. Let's have you kind of just jam, do a little 10-minute jam at the end here. To all of our Patreon subscribers watching, thank you all so much. You guys help us do everything that we do, and we greatly appreciate your monthly contributions. But yeah, Lars Knapp, Aural Antithesis, November 7th, Mod Nights, breaking down his set. Yeah. All right. Well, let's.
And if you want to, I got some free music up there on a Bandcamp too. So go check it out.
Oh shit! There you go.
I'm happy to just get a listen.